Welcome back to the ASEAN Youth and Seniors Championship. This is the last double round for this tournament. This is round number 7, and next two rounds will be single rounds, which is, of course, more relaxing for the players and especially for me. Now, yeah, I won't talk too much about myself. Let's go straight into the games. So let's see what games are available. Well, we have an all Grandmaster matchup, which can mean either a very exciting chess or a 20-minute draw. So it remains to be seen which will happen. Okay, so we have a Berlin and D3 is played, which is a promising sign in a sense, because obviously if they wanted something safe, they would probably play a line like 94 and probably this line, yeah, which is very, very famous as a fast draw. Yeah, knight takes d4, queen d4, d5, and everybody, their grandfather, their grandmother, and yeah, and their dog knows this line. So, and this is a draw. But okay, d3, it sort of signals to me that white's trying to play for a win, which is promising, of course, d6. And we have, well, a typical position from this line. Bishop goes to a4, and knight bd2. So black has got his bishop out on g4, which, as me and Rohan were discussing a few days ago, is kind of double-edged, because of course it's nice to have the bishop out, but also it does allow the white the opportunity to get a tempo on this bishop, and the bishop could get a bit misplaced on the g6 square. So, I mean, it remains... Yeah, the bishop could get... Sorry, I just realized you guys probably couldn't hear me, but yeah, as I was saying, you know, in these type of positions, it's never that easy, because the bishop could always be a bit misplaced on, you know, on g6. So, yeah, knight f1 is normal, going for knight g3, and we'll see how this goes. Yeah, black has many options. He can play b5 and kick the bishop back. He could try to play d5 at some point. We could also see maybe even the bishop go back to f8, for instance. This could be a way of playing this, and knight g3, bishop g6, and later on to play for some sort of d5, perhaps starting with b5 and then later on d5. Okay, it's interesting play for both sides. Well, we have a very quick draw between Angelo Young and Leo Dede. I mean, King D2 was certainly not played, but this is what happens when you use these ID chess boards. They always give you the wrong move, as I was telling a parent earlier today. Yeah, and this is a prime example. Look at this lovely move, King D2. Yeah, that was not played. That was not played. Well, if it was played, then well, I don't know what to say. You know, this is a serious game. I don't think that will happen. They probably get it 0-0 if they did that for prearranging a draw. Well, we have Joey Antonio against Efren. Obviously, two players who often travel together and play in senior events together. And it seems like they're gonna fight because they haven't agreed a draw yet. So we have a Queen's Indian. I guess also Joey Antonio is much higher rated, so he's gonna try to play for a win. And also Efren doesn't like quick draw, so I guess this means that it'll be a fight. Okay, so waiting for more moves. Let's go on to another game. We have a modern defense, and we have a very traditional line with c3. Usually the idea of c3 is that white wants to go for bishop d3, and this is a very, very solid setup. It's Tiviakov's favorite line against this modern defense, and he asked me to play it too, although I did not listen to that. I preferred my own line, and that's the beauty of chess. You can choose your own lines. Yeah, but okay, this is a very, very good line. I mean, white can play him with like h3, and then okay, later on he will decide what to do from there. Yeah, later on his bishop could come out at some point. You know, he could bring his knight out to d2 and maybe to c4. Yeah, it's a very easy play for white. But we'll see how this goes. Okay, so we have another perk, and this is the bishop g5 line and queen d2. This is another very principled line against the perk. And black hits with a6, interesting enough. And I'm not sure about bishop b5. It's kind of a bit weird to do bishop v5 here, but okay. Well, after black forces white to do it, white takes on c6, which I guess is the only way to justify bishop b5. But I'm not so convinced about this, you know, this set of exchanges. I feel like white will start to miss his light square bishop sooner rather than later. So I'm not sure about this, but okay, black, there is interesting play for both sides. I think black could try to prepare c5 at some point. You could start with a move like rook b8, for instance, and try to see what white does. Maybe try to discourage white from castling queenside, and we'll see. still a long way to go. We are very much still in the opening phase, so I think things will start to heat up a bit later. We have Ismail Ahmad, one of the players who got his FIDE Master title from a senior tournament. So obviously a player who has a lot of experience in senior tournaments. Queen C2 and H6. Obviously the point, this is one of the most classic traps. Don't ever do this because of Bishop B4 check. And surprisingly, a 2200 has fallen for this, which I can see in the database, but you know, don't ever do it. It's one of the most basic traps you learn in Kindi. So H6 is standard, kicking the bishop, and C6. So black is playing bishop B4. Interesting. I mean, normally in these lines, you put the bishop on E7 or on D6. Usually E7 is a typical way, and then play usually continues something like castles and, you know, knight E2, maybe something like rook E8, and perhaps going for a move like knight E4 later. Okay, maybe not knight E4 here, but, you know, maybe a move like C5 in the future. That could be an idea. For instance, if white tries F3, then we're going to hit in the center with C5. And this is usually the way black plays against this knight E2 line. Okay, bishop E4 has been played, and now white plays knight F3, and this is some classic stuff. A3, bishop takes C3, B takes C3, and black hits in the center with C5, because obviously if white could get the move C4, I think he will be doing very well. So black needs to hit in the center. And now, I mean, now there are different ways for white to play. I feel like I would like white, definitely, because of these two bishops. But how exactly to exploit them is, you know, is up to debate. There's been a very recent game between Alexei Molinsky and another 2100, where Alexei played C4. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because of course when you have two bishops, you should open the position, right? It's very much in the Russian style, and Alexei may be, you know, an American grandmaster, but he was of course brought up in the Soviet Union, so you can understand that he has of course good understanding. And okay, after C4, bishop C, I mean, I think in the game black played a move like B5, but of course, you know, this doesn't make, I mean, this isn't that great. CD5, C4, or maybe it's okay. Bishop F5 was played, and after knight D5, it was a complicated position. I mean, actually, it looks okay for black. And eventually, Alexei won, but black is doing okay. So I guess regardless of what white does, I think black's doing fine. Yeah. Okay, we'll see what he does. And here we have Jimmy Liu, who's got one of his favorite lines. He loves, by the way, Jimmy Liu's two favorite lines are either playing the Trompovsky or against D5 playing the Verasov. And in fact, he wrote a book on this called, I think, something like Play the Verasov or Killer Verasov. I can't remember the name, but go and check it out. And if you want to play the Verasov, I think it's a good idea to buy his book, because and I'm not getting any commission from this, but I will say that he's one of the players who's been very loyal to the Verasov for a long time. So if anyone knows anything about the Verasov, it's probably Jimmy. So Queen D3. The idea is of course that here H6 is the main move, and white wants to take and play E4. Now, honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of this line, because I feel like in lines like this, where black gets bishop G7, white is doing, I think black is doing very well. For instance, knight F3, E6, knight F6, E6, and basically what black ends up with is some sort of position where it's like one of those Caro-Kann positions with knight F6, E6, where black plays knight F6. But, you know, black has the two bishops, and you know how much I love the bishops, but Jimmy is the opposite. He loves his knights. He really loves his knights. So I'm sure that we would both be happy to get our respective positions. Me with black and him with white. Yeah, of course he's got a queen set majority as another benefit. So he's going to try to argue that, certainly. Well, that discussion is moot because black plays E6, which allows white to play E4. I'm not sure about this. This feels very old school, so to speak. Yeah, old school in the sense that it's very solid, but it's not trying to challenge white's concept. I mean, obviously nowadays the new school is to try to question every single one of your opponent's opening concepts, and that's also my style of chess. But you know, it's interesting to see how these old guys play. Certainly. So bishop e7 was played. It's very solid. And there are lots of different ways for white to play. I think you could take on F6. I think the main line is you take on F6. There's a Smyslov game from 1977 here. So it's quite an old game. Knight F6. And maybe something like Knight F3. And we will end up with quite a interesting position. And that has been played, by the way. Knight f6 has been played, and we'll see what white does in the game. But yeah, certainly I think knight f3 makes a lot of sense. And with castles, we can castle queen side. And then we will have a race. Knight e5, pushing on the king side. This is very much in Jimmy's style, by the way, because Jimmy Liu is a player who really likes to attack. Yeah, so opposite side castling, yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for more. Yeah, for a player like him. Yeah, I mean, he obviously has good positional understanding as well, but his main strength lies in the attack. Oh, we have one of our of our co-commentators from a few days ago. Do you want to join us? Come on, come on. There is still space on the stream. Yeah, you have to join now because in a few days' time there won't be any chance anymore. Yep. How have you been?
I lose.
You lose. Oh dear.
I lose Vietnam.
To Vietnamese. Yeah, not an easy day, yeah, for you. Yeah.
I think 1700.
Oh, so yeah, it's not kind of a bit like you got outclassed a bit, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
What happened in the game? Was it broadcast or
I
no?
wonder.
No, well, it was not broadcast, yeah. But I guess we don't need to look at that. It's all right. Yeah, it's all right. These things happen. Yeah, sometimes you have a good tournament, and sometimes it's a bit rough. Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure you'll be back stronger. That's for sure. I mean, either way, you know, it's like as the old sports cliches goes, you know, you win or you learn. Yeah, I know it's a cliche, but you know, it does hold true a lot of the time. So should we look at some players from a category? Yeah, from under 12, right? Oh, Chao Yi-chen. See how Chao Yi-chen's doing. He's on board one, so he can't be doing too badly.
E4.
E4, E5. It's what he likes to do, right? Yeah, knight CG C3. Yeah, and knight C6. This is interesting. He's not going for the knight F6 lines. I guess he's trying to avoid some prep. Bishop G2, knight F6. This is also very much a fine variation for black. D3 and yeah, I don't know, H3. I don't know what white is doing, to be honest with you. But I guess his idea is to take and play D4. And as I say that, he plays F4. Ooh. Ooh, this is interesting. So white's plan is very much caveman.
Yeah.
Right? Caveman style. F5, G5, G4, G5, and go for the attack. Black plays D5. I think it's a good idea, right? Because as they say when you know when this, you know, your opponent attacks on the flank, you should counter attack in the center, right? So D5. F takes E5, and now knight takes. There are different options for black. You could take E4 or take E5. Yeah, I don't know about this actually because the knight probably gets chased, right? And it's probably not very good. Yeah, knight E4, and there are different ways for white to play.
He will take.
Yeah, something like C4. So I don't think he can do this, which means that he's basically left with this as the only option. But is it so bad? Probably not, right? I mean, you could kick it, but then the knight can go back, let's say, to C6. So I think we have to be a bit more careful, yeah? Like maybe knight G6 and E5. We can put the knight on E4, I guess. And knight is relatively solid here on this square, right? I mean, I guess white could hit with C4. Yeah, but I don't know. How strong is this? That's the question. Maybe C. No, but I don't like these type of positions, right? Because they feel a little bit passive. But maybe it's not too bad because we don't really have ways to exploit, you know, these slightly disjoint pawns. Knight on E4 is very strong, by the way. And another thing is that really the only way to dislodge it is to play something like bishop takes in that sense.
I think he will not.
But he won't. Yeah, but he wouldn't want to do it, right? Because that would destroy all the light squares. I guess the other way would be to play a move like knight C3, or at least to try to prepare it somehow. So, okay, we can have a look. What happens if knight C3 now? He probably will have to take, right? And then what?
Then I thinking the B6 pawn is very.
Yeah, this could be weak, right? But in compensation, I have these two guys to try to hit, right? So it's not all one-way traffic, right? In that sense. Well, I mean, there are different ways to play. You could play F6, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, F6 is usually a typical way that you fight against this pawn on E5, right? Like, in a lot of E4, E5 lines, you will see this idea with F6. Yeah.
Also
Takes.
takes.
So obviously not bishop g5 because rook f1 check. So probably you take, yeah. But then queen gets to f6, and you can try to hit. Maybe you can try to hit with queen b3. Okay, this is a bit annoying.
He
No,
only can come to
yeah.
rook s6.
Yeah. Okay, this is no good. So probably this is not that great. Maybe we should just try to hit these queens, these pawns on the king side. Maybe just queen c8. So I'm hitting both. Yeah, something like this. No, actually this looks pretty good. No, king h2. I can grab this king.
Takes.
So okay, that's
Not too strong.
yeah, maybe this is okay. Let's see. Yeah, I guess this is okay. Yeah, we see. Yeah, just c6 is fine. It's not an issue. Yeah, you can even take with a bishop apparently. And I was a bit worried about a move like queen d3, but there is just f5 protecting this knight. Yeah, and Anshin thinks that black is fine here, so this is also fine.
I think he just push the pawn.
Where?
Pawn. g4.
g4. Wow.
You can go to d3, f5.
Okay, and g4 like this. Oh, let's see. It feels optimistic. Feels very optimistic. Okay, what can black do about this? If you go knight h4, I guess you're happy to go back to h1, right? So does that really do anything? I'm not sure. What other options are there? Gf5 is a big threat. It's a big threat.
He cannot do anything. He cannot do anything. Because also, I thinking his queen come. Eh? Queen d7.
Queen d7 gf though.
Takes
and this guy starts to hang them.
No, this take.
Take?
They just check. Oh.
You can get the h3 pawn. I guess rook f8 doesn't work, I think. But there's rook f8 as well. It's just actually quite interesting. So this could be a bit... I guess you could say this is a bit dangerous for white. But at the same time, it is a piece, right? So it would have to be very dangerous for me not to go for this. That's why I go king g1. You take. And something like this.
Yeah, I also thinking like this.
Maybe I go back. Queen g2.
Queen g2? Oh,
I don't believe that you have that much compensation, right? Because I'm going bishop g5.
Just go to the end game.
No, but I'm a piece out.
I got another bishop. Just go to the end game.
Ah, you mean as white, right? Yeah, of course. Yes. And if you go back, I think I have some ideas like bishop g5. Knight h4 is still coming though. This is not so easy. Knight h4 is coming. Because bishop g5, I thought that then you have h6. And then you will have knight h4.
I'm thinking knight g3, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too, but
Wait.
I was worried that there would be some ideas like this and then this. And then suddenly it gets serious. The attack.
Oh, this.
So we kind of have to still be careful there.
Oh, white also.
Or is it? Let's say queen e2. Okay, it is
check.
pretty bad. Yeah, queen g1 check. And actually, is there a follow-up to this? This is weird. Maybe just knight d4 and just claim that we have an attack, which is probably right, yeah? Or even just queen takes. Anyway, you're getting a lot of pawns for it. This doesn't feel quite right. No? Imagine if this is the way. Rook f5 like this. Could be a boss move.
Move already. Knight takes e5?
Well, he played knight g6 as we expected here. And then we'll see e5 will be... No, he played bishop g5, so it's completely different. So I'm not sure whether any of the lines we're looking at make sense. They probably did not. I'm just curious though, after g4, what do we do?
His idea is...
Knight h4 is correct, that was my move. But after bishop h1, then we do this apparently.
What? Oh.
Oh, because now f5 is not...
No.
It's not attacked anymore. So we can just take back, yeah? And we're doing well.
His answer is knight takes e5.
Yeah, okay. So he played knight e5 as we expected, right? d4, knight g6, bishop g5. So he didn't like e5 for some reason. I think he didn't like the knight coming to e4. So, well, what he's doing makes a lot of sense too, because he's going for bishop f6 in some permutation. The question is that...
Huh? What is black doing?
No, it makes sense because if you take, right, he wants to take this guy. Right?
No, the idea is not this. My idea is
Obviously, he'll probably be
no,
looking for
no,
bishop f6 in some sense, but I don't know what he's going to do.
no, this.
What do you want to do?
Takes the knight. He cannot use
ELGF.
It takes the pawn. Then we take the a8.
Okay, and then I grab this.
Grab this.
It looks fine for black, no?
Then we go to f5. I think.
Nah, but you are a pawn down, no? You're a pawn
But
down.
the pawn.
Yeah, I mean that pawn is not the best.
No,
It's not the best pawn, but it's an extra pawn. You know, pawn is a pawn, right? As they say.
I'm not. I'm not.
Maybe I can start to bring my queen and bring my rook or something.
Oh.
Or if I wanted to, maybe I'd try a move like this. Why not?
Yeah, I'm thinking bishop take b7. Then I'm thinking he plays c6. C6 is not.
Yeah, you probably should. But if you do this, I can take your rook on f1. If you take on a8, that doesn't work because, well, I am a bit more clever because I take an extra piece. So you have to take back, but I really doubt that you have anything close to enough compensation, especially with my rook coming to g5 like this, right?
But he lose a piece already, right? White is lose a piece.
Yeah, white's losing some material, some serious material. So I don't think he can do this. So I guess this is the challenge, right? Can white find anything here? Because I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of what could be his idea. Okay,
Knight c3.
that makes sense. Yes, that makes sense because I want to take that with a knight, right?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, what can you do against this? That don't make a lot of sense. I find it strange he played bishop g5 and then started thinking because seriously, what else do you expect other than d4, right? Do you expect h6? No, come on.
Wait. Oh, queen e7. You see this? So interesting.
Queen e7, knight e4 though, and we get what we
Queen
want.
e. Oh, you see queen e7, knight
Knight
e4.
I get what I want, no?
No. You
No?
see this? You see this position?
Bishop
takes the
h3,
pawn.
knight f6, gf6, and you want queen e3 at that level.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Eh?
but if I do this, what happens?
Oh.
Have I outsmarted you? Maybe just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little. It's okay. It's okay.
Just take.
Today I am a bit sharper because I hadn't had to play like a long round and wait for my coach, so it does help. And this wins a piece. But that's alright. That's alright.
But now I'm thinking black is losing.
I think you cannot allow knight e4 under any circumstances. So knight c3 has been played. That is expected, right? No, maybe this bishop g5 was pretty strong after all.
Maybe he moved what?
Because I don't see how you can avoid this. Can it be something like e3? Because I'm trying to see, because I'm sure it can't be a move like this, right? Maybe it's not too bad though. Maybe if there's nothing else, this is the way to do it.
Oh.
If nothing else works, this has to be done, right? It's not pretty, but it has to be done.
Yeah.
Knight goes back and maybe you play queen g5. Maybe it's not as bad as it looks. It looks horribly ugly, but it's not easy to hit my king. So maybe this is the way, yeah? But I don't know, my idea was to do something like this, but maybe it's too much, I'm thinking, because maybe you just ignore me. No, my idea was actually to do something like this, e2. With the idea that if you do this, I'll have queen d4, like this. So I'm pinned with tempo and I'll be able to take your knight.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense though. Maybe you can just move your queen and renew the threat of taking on e3. And then maybe you just get it in the worst version though. Because how do you avoid me taking on e3?
That position.
I can even do this, right, and take it. That's another problem. I don't even have to take it with my queen. So this doesn't feel right.
So
Yeah. Wow, so none of the moves. Apparently, I just turned on the engine, by the way, and the best move is apparently this.
yeah.
Don't ask me why. Ah! I get it now. He's trying to improve on my idea because he likes my e3 idea. But he thinks I'm an idiot in the way I'm getting it done. So he's like, you can do this better. Because now the rook doesn't have that many great squares. So if you play rook f5, queen can come to c8. So I've counter-attacked your rook. And so, you don't have time to take on f6, and I can move my knight next move. So something like this. And apparently this is okay for black. I mean, I would still take white because, you know, 2 bishops and all. And you know how much I love my bishops, right? But that's okay, somewhat, right? Now, the key point comes after rook f2. And the idea here is that now black can get e3. So that was my idea, right? Just to try to force the bishop away and get the move like knight b5. This was my idea. Except that in this case, he actually has to take the pawn because his rook is under attack,
Yeah.
right? Well, in my case, he would just ignore it, right?
He not take. Maybe he go to f3.
Then I might push again, no? I might push again.
Wait. Take. Knight takes.
Well, but then I'll take it. And then I'll grab
And
this
then
guy.
I grab this.
And I unpin my knight. Yay, mission accomplished.
Oh.
Actually, you know what? Maybe I don't even unpin it. I just go greedy and grab another pawn. You know, as they say in chess, greed is good, right? So I just unpin, grab another pawn, and I chill. And okay, I'm up what, 2 pawns?
Rook f1.
Yeah, then I go just even king g7.
King g7.
If you take on f6, fine. I'll just take twice.
King
You know, 2 rooks against the queen. I must be doing well, no?
King g7.
I was thinking
Queen.
even just like king g7 or something. Oh, but apparently the queen versus 2 rooks is not that great. No. What? I'm being an idiot. No, I just play rook e8 and I put the rook on e6.
What? I think it's not good. He give the queen go to f2.
Why not? I'll put the rook on e6. It's okay, no?
Oh yeah. Ooh.
You know, that's the thing, right? Like
wait.
when we are material up, the typical way to defend is, and a typical way of defending is we give back some of the material, right? Like
But-
this f6 pawn, we up 2 pawns, right? But we know we up 2 pawns and we have better pawn structure, right? So in the endgame will be better. So we don't mind giving this guy back, right? And then we get now we still have 1 more pawn and we can get a move like, oh, is this even c6 protecting this?
Yeah.
And so I retain my pawn, and you still have problems with these pawns, right?
Oh, I see already. Bishop f1. I think is good because he rook go to f8. We can go to bishop c4.
Fair enough, but maybe I go king g7. I start to kick your rook.
I just go to rook f3 maybe.
Rook f3. Maybe I start to bring my rook out, because now I'm not worried about bishop c4 because I have knight e5, right? So I don't think it's something that I should be worried about, right? In that sense, yeah. So, okay. I mean, I think this would be no good for white. Yeah, so rook f3 would be bad because of e2. But okay, he doesn't have to do this. Apparently, the best move is to play rook e1, but that would be fine for black, right? Because now I just kick you. I don't have to worry about taking because I can take with the queen, right? And maybe this is still okay for white. I mean, this is obviously fine for white still. But the queen can go back to d8, and black has solved his problems.
Rook e8 maybe.
Yeah, black can continue with rook e8. He can continue with bishop d5. He can still think about this rook a5. I really like this rook lift. I mean, why did you open the a file except to lift the rook, right? So let's see if he finds this bishop c4 move. For me, at least, it's not intuitive. It's not an obvious move. So, you know, I think if he finds it, then that would be great. Yeah, but it's not an easy one to find. So we'll see. Well, we have a student of mine. Well, at least she used to work with me, called Hui Chi. She's this is actually the ladies. I don't know why the ladies games are here, but I think there was an issue with the broadcast and the ladies games are somehow here. But her opponent is playing the London, and she goes for this queen b6 line. Yep. I mean, normally I prefer the bishop d6 line, which is of course very, very solid here. Yeah. And
I always play like
that
this.
you play b6 and okay. By the way, if you play like this, I want to ask you a question. Do you know what black usually does after this?
Takes. Well, it's white. White.
The black. What does black usually do after this? There is a plan here that you must know if you play this.
Oh, very, very big plant, maybe.
Just a normal plan, not even big.
Normal plan.
Given that white side used to play f4, yeah.
Yeah, what he want to do? Takes.
So there is a very nice plan here. The plan is that you go knight e7.
Why?
You're like, why? f4, knight f5. I hit the bishop, right? Maybe white's thinking, okay, no problem, I'll just bring the bishop back. Okay, bishop e7.
It's nothing.
What's the idea? What says, okay, let me push, g4, knight d6. You see where this is going? g5, knight e4. This is black's idea. Black wants to occupy the e4 square. This idea is seen actually also in the Dutch. Yeah, this is a very standard idea in the Dutch. the Dutch stonewall, because black wants not this knight, but this knight on e4. He has to have the f6 knight go to e4, so that in the future there will be ideas of f6 to kick this knight. Maybe not immediately, because that would be a bit, it would expose his position a little bit. But there will be ideas like that. And later on, you'll see black playing moves like b5, c4, and pushing to b4, etc. Maybe including with a5. And this is usually how black plays against this line. So, very important idea to know if you're going to play this line, yeah?
The idea is just push.
But okay, black, yeah, exactly. Because once we have controlled the center, there's no more attack. We just push, get our own ideas.
I thinking he.
My score in that line is like 95% as black. Like 95%. I win like 9 out of 10 games, and then the last game I draw. Yeah.
I think
I draw because I'm an idiot and I'm better. So Queen b6 is played, Queen b3 is standard, and c4. So the idea is, well, I'm not sure about combining Queen b6 with this round, because usually the way they play these lines is that after Bishop f4 they play c5, and then I play it like this, right? If they have Queen b6 here. This is the usual way they do this. This is a big line.
Knight f6.
So the idea is that after Queen b3, right, the reason why we don't play e6 is that so there is this move c4 and Queen c2 Bishop f5 like this. So you can't take, because I will take this pawn on b2. This is a very well-known line that I guess probably every chess player knows, whether they play the London or not. At least they should. But
I remember.
Well, I say every chess player should know, but I feel like every chess player will know different things, so you can't really say that. Okay, so yeah.
My game I thinking is I not see any people play d4, they play knight g3.
Knight g3. Yeah, okay. But anyway, this line, I'm not sure about combining Queen b6 with all of this. It feels a bit weird because, yeah, in these lines, I feel like white gets a very comfortable play with e4 because black cannot get the bishop to f5, right? The whole point was with the bishop on f5, you're stopping ideas like e4, which makes it, I think, quite appealing to play as black. But here, I don't know, because I feel like at some point white will get the move e4 in. But as always, I'm sure that, the computer finds it okay for black. That's how it is. I just feel that this plan is not that intuitive and it's a bit harder to play.
I think white can winning is like this.
I mean, it's all three results, right? White can win, can be a draw, and black can win, right? But I like white, I think, because I have easy play. Push. And black doesn't really have that many breaks. That's the other thing, right? It's like, obviously you also learn as a kid that, whoever has more breaks is usually controlling the action, right? And I think here it's clear it's white that has got more breaks. But of course, black remains very solid. Okay, anyone else you want to see? Anyone in particular you want to see?
Got under 6.
Under 6, there is, I think, under 6, yeah. We haven't looked at many of the under 6 games, and I guess a lot of them finish quite quickly because they just literally just blitz like crazy, these guys.
What, so fast?
Yeah, because they're under 6, the only thing they know how to do is blitz their moves, right? Like, fair play, when I was 6 years old, the only thing I knew how to do was to play computer games on my iPad. And not even good ones, like really horrible computer games. So I will not criticize them. They're already great for literally knowing how the pieces move. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like mistake.
Were you playing chess at 6 or?
And 6. No.
No, that's certainly not. Yeah. No, these guys are amazing. They're officially amazing.
So
I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to say that. That's, I think, a trademark. Yeah.
What is
by
this?
Guinness World Record.
Why he don't want to take the pawn?
Good question, actually. I don't know. This whole play seems very strange because normally they play like bishop d6 and then castles, and instead bishop e6 is played.
Number 1 is
and then queen e2 was played, and somehow black didn't take on d4, but I guess because he was worried that there was gonna be bishop e6 and he might transpose. Yeah. So bishop e6 and b6. What happens if takes? So he obviously didn't like this. Check, and what happens? What's this big point? King f7, queen takes b7. And what's the big point? I'm not sure. If you play rook e8, I will move my knight, no? Because you're not really threatening to move your bishop, are you? So I think I'm playing knight f3.
Knight f3 check, bishop come. I think
you can do this, but the thing is that thanks to my knight on f3, you don't have any back rank mates.
Yeah.
I am controlling it with my knight. So I'm not sure. It looks a bit risky though. I can understand why Black didn't want to go for it. But in a classical game, I think I would at least consider an idea like this, especially since I don't really see a follow-up, and neither does the computer. He thinks it's just a pawn, to be honest. Yeah. Or even better. Oh wait,
Oh.
no. What
Wait,
am I
wait,
talking
wait,
about?
wait,
You
wait,
can
wait,
just
wait,
take
wait.
the rook. You can just take the rook. No. What am I talking about? No, I forgot that the rook was hanging. No, but okay. He should play bishop d8, I guess. Apparently
Check.
here, this is no good.
Not this, not that.
Why? Because of just castles, yeah, or something? No, not
What?
castle.
Take the rook. Oh, rook. No.
I was thinking the castle and like sack it, but it probably doesn't make any sense here. No, this is fine. Bishop a5 apparently.
Eh,
What is
now it's
this?
draw already.
Yeah, this is nonsense. Some sort of line like this and
Check. Oh my god.
okay, I can understand why you didn't want to go for this. It's
No,
like
wait.
it's a draw, it's a
Check.
draw.
Hey, wait,
If king e2, there's rook e8, so you can't do that. So you gotta go king f1.
I think he got to come. No need to use the queen. We just do.
Yeah, but I'm worried there's bishop e3, yeah, and then the king runs to f3 or something. So
I'm thinking. Rook go to e8. Maybe he used. The.
yeah, but the thing is that if you were to play rook e8, then I think the problem is that you can block it, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently not
this.
bishop e3 because of knight b2.
I think it is we sack the bishop.
Yeah, okay, I think so. We have to sack it. But rook e8, I think we still have knight e2, no?
No. We take the pawn.
Check
first.
and then king f1. It's very risky, but it seems to work.
Oh, what?
Takes and then I bring the queen back.
Yeah.
I don't know how, queen b7 or queen a7, something like this. And my
Oh,
queen will
sack.
come back.
Sack.
No, but my book won't protect.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I'm lost. You're lost here because I can take here. Maybe I even take here. Maybe it's better just to take on b8. So, yeah, doesn't quite work this one. But what's the way? You play bishop b6, threatening mate first. This is the way.
What is this?
And if queen e3, there is this hitting the rook, threatening bishop a5 check.
No.
And this is the big problem to win the queen. So queen c8 check, just king f7, and there's nothing here. Because here already black is getting a nice initiative. So it's apparently important to just go back to e6. So I can understand him not taking actually. This looks kind of mad. So I like knight f3. He's just saying, okay, weakness. Because when you're young, being able to identify weakness as a 6-year-old is a bloody impressive thing, don't you think?
Oh.
So that's what he does. He just says weakness, no problem.
Say.
Was b6 played really? He didn't protect the pawn.
That.
He didn't protect the pawn. I think black forgot that the pawn was hanging, and white said thank you very much and took that pawn. Queen d5, check. I mean, even queen d5 would have been winning, but I think everything wins. Knight d7, bishop f4.
Blur.
He could have just probably taken the pawn, but he's like, no, I will not.
Wait.
I think he could have taken it here, actually.
Yeah.
I think he could have just taken it. But maybe he was worried about something like this, but there's nothing. Yeah, you're just 2 pawns up for nothing.
No.
Maybe he was worried about bishop b4 check.
Really?
I'm trying to think of what he could be worried about. Maybe something like this. But it's 2 pawns. It's 2 pawns, you know what I mean?
Oh.
I can't castle, but it's 2 pawns. And 2 pawns is 2 pawns, right? Do you know what I mean? It's 2 pawns. So I think this might have been easier. But I can't blame him. You know, it's a winning move also, castles. This endgame is obviously still, if not winning, then at least close to winning. That was until he started to mess things up a little bit. c5 is correct, I think. And white is doing well. c4, rook a8, I don't get that. Knight b6. What?
See
No.
this position.
Okay, they are 6 years old. They're 6 years old, so that's why they don't see the pawn is protected. When I was 6 years old, when I try to look at it, I gotta remember what I was doing when I was 6 years old. And then I'm like, still bloody impressive. Yes, they forget to ask themselves the most important question in chess, which is, what's your opponent's idea? But I didn't even know what the question was at 6 years old. So that's fair enough. That's fair enough. If you don't know what the question is, how can you ask yourself the question? And white is still a little bit better, but obviously his throne was of his advantage. And no, we will see. Yeah, but I still find it bloody impressive that these guys can even play a decent game of chess.
Say this.
6 years old. My goodness. Next time you will see 2-year-old prodigies who are 2000 rated. It's only a matter of time.
See on this. Do you thinking you can fight the under 12 or under 20? number 1.
Uh, I. What do you mean fight them? Obviously, I'll give them a fight regardless. I'm a FIDE master, and I've got 3 IM noms, so I can't be too bad at chess. Uh, will I be a favorite against them? Against the under 12, undoubtedly so. I'd be a favorite, but you never know, right? Chess is that way.
Right.
I would probably be a serious favorite to win any game, and I would have to play for a win given what my rating is. I mean, I'm 2340, and that guy will be 1900. But you never know. These under 12 guys are quite tricky. So, you know, that's the thing. They're very tricky, these players. So, against the under 20 guy, this guy is obviously, we can go straight to the under 20 by the way. The top seed of under 20 is this guy called Arca. He's one of Philippines' strongest players in the strongest I wouldn't say he's the strongest players, but he's one of the strongest young talents, and he's very, very strong in Rapid and Blitz. So I think in any Rapid and Blitz game, I would definitely be a serious underdog. But in Classical, I like my chances. I think it's a fair game. It's a fair game in Classic. Okay, so we have this DC5 line of the Caro and E6. Yeah, A3. This is old theory. Yeah, it's a main line, yeah. And you go B4 and C4. Okay.
Interesting.
So obviously this is some sort of prep. As I understand, Bishop B2 is usually the move, and then they play F6, and it's like some massive theory here. I'm not sure whether it's F. No, sorry, it's A5 and then B5 and then F6, I think. And there's some big theory here. Yeah, but okay. C4 is definitely a move, given that he's played it relatively quickly. Well, I don't know. He thought for a little bit before playing C4, so. But I don't think you would do it without any prep. I don't think you would. You definitely would have some prep, knowing your opponent literally only plays the Caro-Kann and literally only plays this line, right? Like, if you know your opponent only plays one line, then. Okay, I forgot it was a double round. Forgot. Never mind. Forget I said that. Because in a single round, you would definitely prep. If you know your opponent has one line, you're gonna check that line. That's a sensible thing, right? And you have something ready against it, you can blitz your moves. But in double rounds, you don't have time to do that. So maybe you don't do that. Yeah. Rookie 1 and okay. I don't know. 2 bishops and everything. You know which side I like, right? But at the same time, no, actually no, I'm not sure which side I like because I don't see how to develop this knight. If this knight could come up magically to F5, I'm taking black all day, every day. The question is, can I get my knight there? That's the question. Probably not, yeah? I don't know how I can get my knight there. Yeah, it's probably gonna be quite hard. So how do we get knight out, actually? This is what he's thinking right now, I'm sure. Because we have a very similar rating. Usually, players like us will be thinking of, we will be thinking of something similar. So, I'm thinking, how can I get my pieces out? Maybe that's not a strategy to get the knight out, because I don't see how to get it that easily. I think I might have to play h5, because the thing is, if I play knight h6, then there is some structure like this, which actually is quite interesting, because there are double pawns, but at the same time there is a g-file. That being said, I was gonna suggest that move that you just played. I want to go into the end game somehow, because in the end game, a couple of things. Firstly, my bishops will be very strong in the end game, right? Secondly, I don't have to worry that much about development, because it'll be harder for you to exploit the fact that I haven't developed my king side. Thirdly, I can play knight h6, and in the endgame, I don't care about this structure because my bishops are strong. Maybe I can even play a move like h5 if I don't want to destroy my structure. But in the middle game, that would be risky, right? So I'm thinking, let's start with rook d8, which is what he did. So, what can white do? White can make a block, but a block is awkward, right? I don't know, maybe he might have to do it, I don't know. He might have to make a block. But if I can force him to block with knight d2 or something, that would be nice, because it means that I don't have to worry about some knight c3 later on. Queen moves are very awkward as well. What can you do? The only queen move is queen b3, so I'm thinking. And for me at least, this looks like a very awkward move to play. Yeah, I'm not sure whether the queen is actually well placed on b3. It's another thing, right? It could be quite badly placed here. There are also things that white might have to worry about, like rook coming into d3. I'm not sure whether it's that serious with queen b2 coming, but I think black is having some very decent counterplay here. Oh, queen of b3 was played, so we will see this position. Yeah, because I guess he didn't want to block it, and he wants to get some sort of knight c3 in some lines, so it makes sense to do this. And also there are ideas like a4, so it's quite double-edged. White has a lot of ideas. Well, I won't say the a4 is not an idea yet because of this move queen c4. Yeah, because the queen is hanging too, right? Like let's say we were to make some random move like h5 for black, maybe not so random. One knight h6 to f5. Now a4 will be met by queen c4. So I will not be worried about this because let's say your queen moves. I even have this. Oh wait, no, I don't have that because the rook is protected. No, I thought that I could take a rook, but it's protected. So I guess I go back with my bishop, and this guy is hanging, and I like my position, right? Now I want this as well, so gonna have to decide which one to give up. So white shouldn't play a4, and he won't play a4 because he's a player who's about my strength, so I know he won't play a4. Yeah, we wouldn't even consider a move like that, to be honest. So it would be, I would be thinking maybe we try to develop somehow. I'm not sure exactly how to do that. Uh, yeah, it's a bit awkward actually. How do we actually get our stuff out? If we can't play a4, it's a bit awkward to get our stuff out actually. Maybe what I need to do is try to prepare it somehow. Or maybe I can't. Okay, the most logical move to me seems like to move this bishop. Because I want to have a flexibility of playing either knight c3 or knight d2. Right? Depending on what you do. The question is, do I get away with doing that? So firstly, maybe you start to harass me with the queen exchange. I'm not sure whether this is good, but it's something that I would consider if I'm black, at least. So rook d3 has been played, so this hasn't been played. Queen e3, and let's see. I mean, the thing is, it's not so easy because the queen will come in this way. But okay, I can play a move like rook d3. Yeah, and maybe this is the best way. Knight c3, and then we can do what we want now. We can just develop and put a knight on f5, and we should be doing well. Okay, so h5 might have been a move, but rook d3 is also very natural. It's hitting the queen, and I guess forcing queen b2. It makes a lot of sense as well, just to force the queen to a slightly awkward square on b2. Yeah, because there's no real way for white to exploit this rook on d3. Okay, still very complicated. How should they play as black? That's the next question, right? I don't know. We could go back to that h5 idea. It's not completely dumb. Yeah. I was thinking to do something like this, but the problem is that there is a drawback, right? Which is that it closes the c file. So maybe white just goes queen c2 now. So he stops bishop f3, and he's ready to now develop quite nicely. And maybe this shouldn't be allowed. So I don't know. h5 seems like a very logical one, just to get the same idea. And I guess it depends on what white does, yeah? Maybe white will play a4 now, though. Because now there's no queen c4, right? Okay, well, the move I was talking about was bishop c6, right? And he's played it. He's played bishop c6. See, we think in a similar way. We have our same candidate moves. We might end up with different moves at the end, but we have very similar candidates in the sense that we look at very similar things. That's usually what I realize. Players of certain rating range will look at similar types of moves. That is, players of higher rating range. That is, when you meet 1800s, it can be a bit all over the place. But when you meet players who have more experience, it's usually a bit more structured from my experience. So, I mean, I think it should be something like queen c2 because if I do this, I reckon now that you have covered this, I can get away playing knight h6. And once my knight gets to f5 and castles, black is better, right? Two bishops, I have easy development with rook d8, yeah. Black is better, right?
Always two bishops is not good.
But bishops is is the key, right? He who has the bishops controls the game.
Yeah.
That's another rule. That rule was formulated by Garry Kasparov. He didn't actually put it that way, but he was vocally a big fan of the two bishops. And we have a change of co-commentators. Okay, so queen c2, it's gonna happen. The rook is attacked, right? So black might want to defend it. No, black will probably have to defend it or go back. Probably defend it seems like the most logical thing. Queen d7 seems like a logical move. I don't know what will happen here. Maybe knight d2, then I get knight h6. I'm not sure about this because I feel like knight f5 is coming quite nicely for black, no? You know, I'm really starting to like black's position. Clearly white is out
Yeah.
of prep, which is nice, right? Like when your opponent is out of prep, you're like, okay, it's my understanding versus your understanding. And this is black's, black's position, right? Because Arca, he's been playing this Karokan since he was a little, a little kid. And now he's a big kid. He's still a kid, but a big kid. So I like black. Bishop c6 is a good move. Queen c2. Yeah, moves like queen d7 are possible, but probably even better is just rook d7, renewing threat of bishop takes f3. And yeah, later on knight h6 is gonna come. If you play knight d2, I think now knight h6 is very strong. And yeah, we are doing very well here as black. So I like Arca's position. Very solid, two bishops, and we'll see whether his opponent can do anything. Well, let's go back. Let's go to board one. We have a very interesting struggle here. Interesting, but probably not for long because it's probably some sort of theory. Yeah? A3, very sharp line. It's one of these b6, bishop a6 lines. Yeah, very very sharp. Many games here. Many games. Queen b6, bishop f6. I think actually both players are okay with a draw because I mean, white players a little bit lower rated, yeah, but black players also, thinking that draw is a good result in the grand scheme of things against, a fellow countryman and maybe a friend even. So and also there's not really that much you can do as black, if you don't want to draw, there's not really much you can do. It's a professional, and this game has actually ended. I think they forgot to put the kings in the center. That's why, the game result hasn't been recorded. But it's a draw. It's a draw. It's 3-4 already. So it's a draw. Okay, next game we have Bakoyo is making a bit of a comeback. If you remember, Bakoyo had a really bad day. Yeah, right before the rest day, he lost both of his games, which is the worst time, I think, to lose both of your games because then you're gonna be in a bad mood for the whole rest day. But that's life. Sometimes it can happen. For every winner, there's got to be a loser, right? And we have this bishop g5 line, queen f3, castles, and bishop d3. Big line, obviously. h6 has been played. Yeah, it's a popular line. I think b5 is the main move, and okay, there's a lot of theory after rook e1, and I think there's some sort of g4 here. Maybe not here, but okay, there's a lot of theory certainly. But h6 has been played. It's also one of the main moves, and white plays h4. Yeah, it's our theory, by the way. Our theory. Knight c5. You can't take, I guess, because of h takes g5, and there's going to be some issues on the king side. The knight doesn't really have that many good squares, by the way. I think if you go back, I probably just go in. And if we go here, I reckon I might just start to bring my other pieces, maybe something like this. This looks pretty strong, yeah? Yeah, and white spinning. So knight c5, bishop e2, bishop d7. It's all theory, I think, but both sides are, or maybe it's not theory, both sides are, I think black got a bit confused by this h4 move, and then started thinking. So he thought for a while, played knight c5, and then white was the one that started thinking, because I think he didn't know what to do against this move. Bishop e2 makes sense, in a sense, because you don't allow knight d3. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it was the best move. There are definitely ways for white to play, and it turns out knight c5 is a good move as well. Maybe white should have been prepared for it. Yeah, f5 is a move, apparently. Yeah. And, okay, it's some line like this, which is apparently okay now, because there's gonna be bishop takes g5, and some line like this, and e6 is protected. But okay, it's quite unclear, this. Yeah, e5, threatening bishop h7, and it's a total mess. It's an absolute total mess. So, bishop e2 was played. It's an interesting idea. And black doesn't take it. Maybe it should have. But now, bishop f6 and g4. This is very standard, right? Because white wants to play g5 and break the queen side. Knight a4, knight a4 takes, and bishop a4. And now b3, because otherwise bishop takes d4 would be checkmate on c2. So white has to kick with b3. And black has started to think quite a bit. It's thought for more than 10 minutes now. What could he be thinking about? Firstly, he can move his bishop back. Yeah, that's one thing. Second thing, he can play a move like rook c8. So these are our candidate moves, renewing the threat of bishop d4. Thirdly, I guess, would be some sort of counter-attack in the form of something like queen c5 with some queen a3 ideas. So if b takes a4, does bishop takes d4. One of these moves is probably better. Some of these moves are probably better than the others. I don't think they are all about the same strength. Some are better than the others. So black has to work them out, I guess. The most logical move seems to be rook c8.
Yeah.
Simply renewing the threat of bishop d4. That seems to make a lot of sense, right? So what can white do in this case? Maybe he's going to push c4. Maybe that's what black doesn't like. c4. Renewing the threat of ba4 now. And it looks quite, dangerous, but firstly the bishop has to go, right? And once your bishop goes, I think I might be ready to go g5. Yeah. H takes, I will be playing H takes actually. Because if you do this, I can play queen. Oops, sorry. Where were we? We were saying rook c8, right? c4. Bishop d7 because the bishop was hit, right? g5 takes rook h1 and queen h1. Something along these lines. Queen might be coming in somewhere along these lines. No, I like white's position here quite a bit. So I think c4 is probably this is also fine for black because he can still play queen c5. But also, I'm wondering, right? I like bishop d7 the least of all of them. I'm thinking that queen c5 makes sense as well. Hitting this might, right? Okay, I see the c3 is the best move, but let's say I can go back, right? Not bishop d7. And I like having this pawn as something to attack, right? Rook c8. And then later on I can start to push this b pawn, maybe? I think it's quite a complicated position. As is usually the case in the Najdorf. Yeah, I mean, so think about the Najdorf, right? It's a very complicated line, and it's a lot of play in any case. Okay, let's look at Fabian Glan. Fabian had a great start, and now he's having not that great of a middle section of this tournament, but that's how it is, right? I feel like in order to have a successful tournament, you gotta have a good start. You're gonna have to maintain, you gotta have to keep your foot on the gas, as they say. Keep the foot on the gas pedal throughout the tournament, because once you let go, things can go really badly wrong, especially when you're playing very strong opponents. Ooh, this is a very interesting line actually. Bishop e2, c5. It's very sharp. So knight e7 is the main move here, as you guys all know. Castles and knight e7. I see you guys all know. I only knew this earlier this year when I was already a FIDE. I was already 2300 and FIDE master for what, 5 years? So I probably should have known this earlier. But okay, c5 is actually a very sharp move because now bishop e3 is played. And the idea is that, I'm not sure whether white has played this correctly, by the way, but if white has played this correctly, he can put black under a lot of pressure. Knight e7, c4 is correct. Knight bc, sorry. Is c4 correct? I think knight d2 is the best move. Yes. I actually had a game here where I played knight c6 and our opponent went for, I think, bishop b5 something. a6 takes, b takes c6, and now I think c4 or something. I don't know whether it's just exactly this line, but it was something along these lines, and it's actually very sharp. But c4 was played, and knight bc6, and queen a4. It's also a possibility, but my understanding is that black should be somewhat okay here, because you see now b5 may be a threat. Castles, okay, so b5 doesn't work anymore because of this x-ray, but black plays queen a5. And in this endgame, I think black is doing very well. I think in general, in a lot of these endgames that you see, it's two bishops, and yes, you might say that white is a bit more pleasant, but black is very, very solid, and I don't think black has any troubles at all. In castle, later on, maybe try to play move like bishop a5, followed by rook d8. Very, very solid position for black. Yeah, okay, so let's see. We have Kevin. So Kevin obviously had not the best game this morning, losing to Arca, which is no surprise, I guess, because Arca is very, very strong in chess. He's obviously an international master now, so he he has to live up to that. But okay, Kavit has got one of his favorite lines, b6 knight e2. By the way, he likes to play these type of lines, bishop d3, and okay, d5, knight f3, and then c5, castles, these type of lines, yeah. And he likes to play them quite a lot, and he'll play d5. He also has this pet line that he likes to play quite a lot. Yeah, this one is also quite a popular one from him. Yeah, so cd5 takes and knight d5, and he likes to play these type of lines a lot. And basically, he tries to get d5 in quickly. That's his idea. And basically just simplify, especially against against the high rated players. But okay, b6 is also a try, and knight e2 is the main move. Bishop b7. I'm not sure. I think bishop a6 is a better try in my opinion, but bishop b7 is also playable. a3 takes and d6. Okay, so this is an attempt from black to probably play for a win because I think both players are doing very badly in the standings. Both players need a win, right? And black can't draw. And he sees his opponent is low rated. So he thinks his opponent might be going for a draw. So he's taking more risk. And this is one benefit you will see as a low rated player playing someone who's high rated. And that's why it's good to play tournaments where you're one of the lower seeds, I think, because your opponent will start to take risks like this, right? Knight d7 and e4. And I think white has got what he wants. e5, d5, a5. And black gets his knight to c5, but white still has two bishops, which is definitely a nice thing to have. And white gets b4 in. By the way, I was thinking that black should try for a4, but there is no way he can try to get that in because this a4 square is just too well protected. And because of that, white is getting b4 because black can't play b4. And this is starting to look worse and worse for black. I mean, I really like what white is doing. It feels like everything's gone wrong for black, yeah?
Yeah.
Like he's basically just trying to hang on, draw or make a draw now. Which is not what you want when you play a line like this, but it's what you might have to do sometimes when you mess up the opening. Because black has got no comp to play. He can't ever get f5 it right. Because a lot of these lines, it's about white's play on the queen side versus black's play somewhere here on the king side, yeah? Where he plays like f5, f4 and tries to push on the king side. It's never going to happen, obviously, because he's got nothing on the king side. He's literally trying to hold up. Okay, so what should white do? Probably he should try to orchestrate some sort of c5 at some point, right? The question is how. Does it make sense to do it now?
I don't know.
It feels a bit premature, but let's see what happens if we do it now. D takes c5 like this, right? I don't think black should open or maybe black should open the a file, I'm not sure. But if you do this, there are options like this. So maybe this is very good, yeah, because I'm threatening this, and then this looks like a horrible version for black because everything is hanging. So I think c5 would force black to take, and which means we can take back with the pawn. Okay, what can black do here? He probably should start to liquidate some stuff because his position doesn't look very nice. So it should be a combination of this and something like this. Let's try this first. So I will end up with this pawn on c6, but at least, I will get some of my pieces out. Maybe knight e6 now. No, I'm not so convinced actually. I'm not super convinced because, I don't know, queen c4, maybe, I guess white must be a bit better, but I don't know, I feel like black's position was so passive, there was no need to start activating his stuff, right? But then, how should we improve our position? It's not so easy. Yeah? Not so easy. Okay, we have to play c5 we probably have to play c5 at some point, but nobody said we had to do it now. So, how to improve our position actually? It's not so easy. I would like to have more power. Sorry, I would like to have more power on the b file if possible. I don't know whether it's possible though. Maybe this? With idea of c5 still, because you still can't take on b4, rook a2. And at the end of those lines, I will have options like, rook b2 or rook d2. That's my idea. I don't know. I think white will have a lot of play here, but is it that easy? It's not so clear, yeah? I don't know. The computer is suggesting b5, which I don't understand. I think it makes no sense to close the queen side. considering our play is going to be on the queen side most likely. So yeah, it's one of those that's just not so simple to get, yeah. Maybe something like rook a2 is not too bad, yeah. Hey, it's not easy to break through, so we'll see if Kevin can make any progress, because I don't really see how to break through. Very, very solid from that. Okay, so I think with that, I think maybe we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in about 10-15 minutes time, alright? So don't go anywhere. Ah, no, no. That one is on YouTube. Can find with Malaysian chess. All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. So, yeah, there have been some developments in almost all the games. It's been quite a bit of a long break, but yeah, had to check out some of the games upstairs. So, yeah, hopefully it's okay. Some issues with my other stream, but I think they have been resolved by now. So, okay, let's go ahead and jump into the games. Right, so we haven't actually looked at this game between Tonu and Tran Levy. Yeah, Levy Tran. Yeah, yeah. So castles, bishop g5 and knight e4. Okay, this is an interesting line. It's one of those, yeah, those queen a4 check. No, it basically it transposes to this line. Yeah, this c6 line, queen c2 and dc4, queen c4. This line, yeah. It transposes basically back to this line. Yeah, the queen a4 check is an interesting move. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's definitely it's a playable move for sure. C6 anyways, was played. Knight bd7 and g3 e6. And now white plays bishop g5. So yeah, here knight e4 is played. This is a normal move. Bishop e7. d1. I always feel that these positions are very solid for black, but also white's position is, I think, the more comfortable one because he's got very easy play. He's going to start to push on the queen side. He's got a bit more control over the center. And so she dictates a little bit more of the play, although objectively things should be, of course, quite equal. So I don't know what would be a good move. Maybe rook f8 trying to play a move like e5 seems like a very decent option. Yeah, for instance, if a4, I think black can immediately strike with e5. Yeah, maybe some position like this. Okay, queen takes e5 and... No, but maybe this is a little bit more pleasant for white. But okay, e3 is... Sorry, not e3, the b4 pawn is hanging. Okay, there can be a move like rook b7. And after rook b4, yeah, maybe some position like this. But okay, I think white should not be better. Maybe some compensation in the sense that white's rook is very active, but shouldn't be enough for more than a draw. Something like that. So, okay, we will see what black does. Yeah, I think rook e8 followed by e5 seems like a very logical way to play. Now we'll see whether he does that. But there have been some interesting developments in this game as well between Sebastian from the Philippines. Yeah, it's just a lady or a guy, we wouldn't know. But, well, it's a WFM, so yeah, apparently it's a lady. So d5. d5 is definitely a move here. This is actually a move that Filipinos like to play a lot. One of the guys who plays a lot in Malaysia who likes to play this line is, of course, Nelson Villanueva, the Filipino FIDE master that if you play any chess in Malaysia, you probably will have heard of him. He plays in KL, Penang, and anywhere in between. Oh, he's gone to Johor as well. So, yeah, from Johor to... well, I don't know where he's gone. He's probably gone to Terengganu, etc. So literally every state in Malaysia that you could think of that does chess tournaments, he's played in. So you probably know him. Okay, so c6. This is after a long thing from black. So I guess she didn't know what to do here, which, well, resulted in this move, which is not too bad, but it's a little bit passive. I think knight d4 and white brings the knight back to c2. It's an interesting maneuver. It's, of course, supporting a3, b4. One thing I realized is that Filipinos love to put their knight on c2 in literally every opening. And the reason why is they'll try to play a3, b4. And e4, a6, and a4. So, okay, it's one of these... it's still a very comfy position for white. I mean, of course, she's got more space. And, wow, he just hits with f4. Yeah, I guess this is very principled and strong because now... g4, wow, it just kicks the knight again, and e5, very strong move, yeah, because of course you can't take on e5 because f6 would hang, right? So knight goes back to e8, d6, and d6 is apparently not as strong as the move bishop e7, and I guess the reason is that there will be some sort of knight takes e5 in these lines, yeah, and it's not so clear because even though we're going to win the exchange, he is I mean, opponent is getting a pawn for it. And another thing is that I guess why white is not taking is that if you take on f8, then the d6 pawn is going to hang, right? So black is going to get 2 pawns for the exchange, and this is what white doesn't want to allow. So what can white do? She plays bishop e7, and this allows... So I think white shouldn't have played d6, by the way. Probably it was better to go straight with bishop e7, and the idea being that we're not forced to play d6, we can play d takes e6 in a lot of these lines, yeah. So for instance, queen e5, I think we can simply take on f8, yeah, in this case, and if bishop f8, we have d takes e6, and now ef7 is going to be a big disaster for black. So this is the point, but d6 is very tempting, and she played it very quickly, but it turns out that it's wrong because of knight e5, and already it's not so clear, yeah. Now, white will eventually have to take on f8. There's no other way to do this. And that will lead to black probably winning that pawn on d6 with an interesting game. So I think white had a big advantage earlier when she found these really forcing moves with, you know, f4, g4. Yeah, as I like to say, you know, women in chess are very good when they are attacking. So they should attack more. Yeah, that's their natural... That's their natural talent oftentimes. So, you know, and that's what I've realized. They're able to attack very, very well. Yeah, actually a lot of guys are really bad at attacking. So, you know, that's another thing. Yeah, but women are very good at that. So they should attack more. If they were to attack more, you know, they will get better results. And that's true for I think a lot of them. Yeah, anyways. We have a game where again it's going for the attack. I tell you, these people are good at attack, yeah? They are good at attack, yeah. And she's just slowly preparing a slow but steady attack with some sort of h4, h5 will come, and it looks dangerous for black. You know, kind of proves my point. Okay, let's move on to the open section. Okay, the first game was a draw as we expected, which probably means that if Arca wins, he will be able to catch these guys, and especially because he's lost to Bagoyo, who's quite a few points behind him, he doesn't really have to worry about, you know, direct encounter being an issue. Yeah. So, but anyway, he doesn't really have much to gain from this tournament. It's already an international master after all. So, you know, we will see. We will see. I guess it's more of a pride thing. But Chahaya is also an international master. He has nothing really to gain from this, except for pride. So instead of queen c2, queen e2 was played. And queen d7, as expected. Yeah, knight d2 and bishop b5 back, stopping knight c4. And okay, maybe threatening some sort of discovery like this, which forces white's queen to move. And now black gets his knight to f5. Basically exactly what I was saying, you know, black should do. Yeah, very, very normal, solid play. Nothing special, but when you have a position like this, you just have easy play, and you should make easy play. You should not make things hard for yourself. Just play normally and you'll get an advantage. And white is in big trouble. He's in big trouble. Castles will happen, and I don't like white's position one bit. Let's look at Bagoyo, what's happening. It's a complete mess. I mean, Bagoyo is sort of in a must-win. Yeah? So after b3, black talked for a long time and brought the bishop back to d7. We were mentioning that black has a lot of different options. Queen c5 being one of them. Rook c8 also being another one of them. But black decided to do none of them. He played his bishop back to d7. And after g5, just drops back to e7. And it might look a little bit, you know, slow for black, but at the same time, black will have ideas of hitting in the center with e5 or hitting the queen side with b5. So we'll see. And he decides to go queen side castle. This is very interesting. So he understands why his attack is on the king side. So of course he's not going to castle into the attack. So what else to do than to go queen side? King b1, king b8. And actually, I'm sort of starting to like what black has been doing. Knight c2 is played, and interestingly enough, black is not going for the endgame. We're taking on e3. Plays bishop c6. Again, there was the option to take on e3, but black played e5 instead. So this is very ambitious, of course. He's trying to break up this whole pawn chain, with the idea being that if you do this, then there will be queen e3 and hg winning a pawn. Yeah. So this is not possible, which means that white sort of is forced to go for complications. But queen c3 was played, takes queen g7, and now queen e5, very interesting move. So I guess it was not the only option for black. It was probably possible to take on g5 as well, and in general go for a position like this. But what he does, what he has done makes a lot of sense, and I like what he's done. So it's play queen e5. My guess is that after queen f7, he's going to insert an intermediate move, like rook f8. So we kick this queen, and once the queen moves, now he'll be able to take on g5, and then maybe even insert another intermediate move, rook g8, followed by taking on g5 with the rook. And this looks like a very strong option, because black's pieces are very well coordinated, unlike in the other line we were looking at, right? So this is, of course, very strong for him. Okay, so let's see what's happening here. So queen e5 has been played. I don't know what white can do. If he takes on e5, this is obviously huge for black, right? Massive, massive advantage. Okay, maybe not so massive, but it's clear that white's in big trouble. His pawns are sort of falling, and it's going to be hard to defend them. For instance, if you try to do this, it might even run into f5. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you might start with rook h8 first, but at some point, f5 will be coming to exploit this diagonal. And I think white is in trouble. So let's move on, but I think it's clear that black is just much better, or, you know, maybe even close to strategically winning of the queen e5. So let's move on to the next game. We have this. This game has ended in a draw. Yeah, this was the Caro-Kann game, where I was saying that even though white's position looked quite pleasant, that black has ideas like bishop a5 and, you know, trying to trade the bishops when he'll have pretty good play. And that was exactly what happened. Bishop a5 takes, the knight comes to a5, and now the black knight starts to jump around. King e7, and now a draw was agreed after bishop takes c4. Yeah, I think that's a fair result. I don't know, I might even think of playing on as black, but of course it should be some sort of equality, so I think a draw is a very fair result. Okay. We have Tran Vo Quoc Bao again. The guy was scoring lots of upsets here last year in Penang. Obviously, we had a different venue. Some would say a better venue, but, you know, still, it was a more expensive venue, so you kind of expect that. But, okay, we have a very solid Maroczy position. And eventually, I think black probably managed to break with d5. This is, of course, black's two breaks are b5 and d5. I'm not sure about knight a4. I'm not sure what that really does, but his idea was to play b4 apparently and push the pawn to b5. It's a reasonable idea. Black takes on b5 and hits with d5. So I think black has done everything seemingly correctly, and he's got a good position. e5 was played, but I'm not sure about this, because bishop a4, queen h5. And what is white's idea? What could white's idea be? Not sure. Really not so sure. I don't think knight c7 makes that much sense. Like, even if you just move the rook, I don't see what white's really done here. So I don't really like this. What else could there be? I don't know. I don't really see any comp for this pawn. I don't know. Maybe it's something a bit deep with some sort of g4, but I don't know. It's not so easy to see. Let me see what white does. Now let's go to the Kavin game, and ooh, what is going on? There have been huge developments here. So we started off here, right, saying that Kavin is basically playing for no risk. He's got no risk at all. Yeah. Although there is, of course, some risk if he tries to play for a win. B takes a5 was played. Rook takes a5, and he went for knight takes c7. Wow, what a interesting way to play. I like g3, by the way. After knight g6, I'm not sure what to do here. I mean, there was, of course, the move c5 again, which I think makes more sense given that the knight is a bit misplaced on g6. But I guess it's still not so clear, yeah? Like a position like this, I'm not sure, yeah, that is that good for white. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Black can even consider doubling with his rook. So probably c5 was not the way to go. B takes a5 makes sense. Rook takes a5. And actually I was thinking maybe white would play something like a4 with idea of bishop d2 followed by a5. And instead white grabbed on c7, which seems optimistic. What's his idea? I'm trying to figure this out. Queen takes c7. I don't understand what his idea is. Is it to do this? Knight b6 and then queen b6. And he's trying to pin everything along the b file. This is very interesting actually. No, this looks very strong. He could do that. So black played bishop c6, which he probably had to do. D takes c6, queen c7, and yeah, of course, white gets the piece back. And black plays rook a6. I guess it's necessary, otherwise b6 is gonna hang. A4 and knight f8. I actually like what he's done. He's going for knight d7, and I think black is sort of okay now. Yeah, now it's after knight takes d7, he will restore material equality, and I think black is sort of fine now. He's starting to target the white weaknesses as well. That c4 pawn is, yeah, it's not looking that great, is it? Yeah, I don't know about queen d2 though. This feels a bit optimistic what it's done. White's position seems to be, falling apart a little bit. I thought he should try to bail out the rook d1, but I don't know. Some line like this looks interesting. Yeah, and then b6 will probably hang, and it's probably some sort of equality. But I don't know about the queen d2. Is rook d1 a move? They say rook takes a4 though. Maybe there is rook takes a4, so that's probably not that great. Maybe what I should do instead is play rook b5. So if you do this, then we will indeed exchange to a drawn endgame. So maybe that was the way to bail out. But instead, queen e2 was played. I'm not sure about this. This feels extremely optimistic. It feels like white's position is in some sort of trouble. Queen e2, and black even gets queen e2 now. But now queen d2 is played. And I guess after queen takes d2, it's not going to be that easy to win because bishop will come back to take this pawn on b6. They could still play rook c2 though, and there is a definite argument doing something like this, which looks really nice for black. Maybe this was even the easy way to do it, but I don't know. Is something like this? This one looks very nice for whites, of course, and probably to end up something like this. But it's not gonna be that easy. I mean, I can protect this passively, but white should have some drawing chances, and maybe that's why black decided instead to go for queen f3, which is very principled. Now white's gone for bishop h6. Rook d4 hitting the queen. There have been lots of developments, so we'll go straight to it. Queen g5, threatening mate, but black is coming with rook d1, takes king g2, rook c2 check. Right, black is just chasing the king out. King h3, queen f1 check, king g4, and knight f6. And goodness, that is over. It's completely over because king h4 is met by rook takes h2. And this is exactly what I was telling you about some of these positions here, that if you overpress, you can lose these things so easily. And it's kind of heartbreaking if you're Calvin, obviously, because your position was so good, you couldn't lose, and then you managed to lose it in less than an hour. So it's obviously not what you want, but that's life sometimes. And I feel like as a chess player, you have to go through these tough moments in order to, to grow as a player and as a person. So, and anyway, I'm sure that Calvin, being a very, a mentally strong player, is going to recover from this in the next round. He has the whole night to recover, so I'm hoping he can pull off something for the next few days and secure some rating gains. That would be, I think, a good result at this point, given that it's going to be hard to... I mean, obviously a podium is out of the question, but there are a lot of medals in this tournament, so I think he's got a chance for some of them. Alright, so let's move on. And obviously, I think the whole point of playing these events is for the rating, right? So it's gotta be just trying to get the rating at this point. Well, there's a quick draw by Ri Heng. I think it's not necessary to look at it. Black had a comfortable game at the end. He could even have tried to play for a win. So let's move on to... Maybe let's go to the Grandmasters. So there was a quick draw between Chao Shang and Tu Huang Tong, two countrymen, two fellow Vietnamese, and I realized that when Vietnamese friends play each other, they like nothing better than a quick draw. Then that's not true for Filipinos necessarily, because we see that there is a big fight here between Joey Antonio and his good friend Efren Bagamasbat. Both players, big fighting players, by the way, who don't like quick draws in general. So we have one of these queen's Indian positions. It's basically bishop a6. This is an old line. This line has been known since, since the beginning of time pretty much. Basically, black's idea is to force the bishop to d2, where he's going to say the bishop is not that well placed, and then he's going to play d5. That's the idea. Rook d1, knight bd7, and the bishop goes to f4. There's also another classic idea of putting the bishop in c3, followed by knight d2, and trying for e4. This is also very common, but bishop f4 is also normal. Knight e4, and black plays knight e5, another very decent move. I mean, I guess he didn't really want to allow something like, I don't know, maybe g5 or something followed by f5. Maybe he didn't want to allow this, so he goes for knight e5. And I think black should be obviously fine, but not sure about this knight d7 move. Yeah, but I guess he didn't know what to do against e4, and it does look like an annoying move to face. So maybe this knight e5 was a good practical decision after all, because even though it's yeah, so clear. I think he shouldn't have dropped the knight back. Actually, it looked a bit weird. I mean, if you're gonna put the knight on e4, I feel like you gotta stick to your guns and just play f5, right? Because you didn't play knight e4 to play the knight back to f6, surely. So, because now I feel like with e4 coming, it's kind of pleasant for white. Yeah, rook e8, you can just play rook c1, for instance, and I think I think white is doing quite well. Just like rook c1, and later on we can decide what to do. Okay. I mean, white obviously has a lot of control over the center, and I feel like it's always that way. The player who has more control over the center is gonna have more control over the game, and that's just how chess works. Okay. This guy, by the way, we have Altan Ok, who actually played quite a interesting game against Joey Antonio in the previous round. I don't know how that game ended, but it was quite enterprising, most certainly. So this c3 line again, obviously this is the classic Tivyakov line, but he plays bishop e2, which is weird. Normally they always play bishop d3. That's the whole point of you playing c3, right? Get the bishop to d3 nicely. Yeah, but this seems like it's a good version for black. Although e5 seems weird. Normally in these lines, black is hitting the center with a move like c6, for instance. And after c4, then he can decide what to do. Maybe even bishop g4. And then he can decide. He can take on d5, eventually play knight a6 to c5. And that's how they usually play as black. But e5 is, yeah, not sure. Knight comes to d3. It's interesting. It's very, very traditional in that sense. The c pawn is probably going to start moving. 5 f3 and knight f2. It's a very, very traditional play. Here, g8 a5, knight g8, and c4. He's trying to push his c pawn. Very traditional, but I think I quite like it for white. And now he takes on f5, because he wants to play bishop e3, but it doesn't work. So he decides that he's going to go for this also very classic plan. Yeah, it's always a bit double-edged to do this, but okay. It's normal. Also, rook g7, bishop f1, defending g2. Knight g4 takes, and g3. And bishop kicks the rook. Wait a second. Maybe bishop g7 wasn't the best, yeah, because now the rook is maybe in some trouble, right? Like after rook g6, I guess he's going to continue the strategy with bishop h5. And the rook's in trouble. Where can the rook go? If he goes to f6, I take on e5 and probably take again, right? Because you don't have any way to exploit this, and that's a very nice pawn to have. But he can't do that. Well, that means he has to go to h6, and now I get this exchange. Yeah, I get this very nice exchange, and now I can start to convert this exchange very nicely. Yeah, maybe any normal move like just queen d2, stopping queen g5, yeah? And we should be doing well. Okay, just queen g2 just to stop queen g5, yeah? And we should have a good position. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Okay. What else do we have here? We have a perk. c3 and bishop g5. Yep. Another very classic line. He takes c6. f3. Yeah, this was the game we looked at, right? Bishop takes c6. Yeah, I wasn't so convinced by this bishop takes c6. Yeah, but it seems like white has started to outplay his opponent. Yeah, a b3 and e5. Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like, as a black player, I probably wouldn't go for this line against an experienced GM like this, because I feel like white's got very easy play, and yeah. Now white gets f5. I'm not sure about this though. Maybe this was not right. But it seemed like white's attack is just so smooth, no? It just felt very, very smooth. Maybe he had to try to, contest it with c5, and then maybe try to play a move like, that prepares f5 in some way. But I don't know how. It's not easy to find a good square for the queen. That's another thing. Maybe try to get the queen here and try for f5 like this. But, okay. f6 feels way too passive. And now, obviously, white is completely taking over. Gets his rook to g3. Gets his knight to f5. And now, rook g4 is played. And the threat is immediately to take on g7, followed by rook h4. and that would be crushing. And I'm not sure what black does against this. Might have to drop his bishop back, but this is obviously quite horrible. Yeah. I'm not sure what's the easiest way, but this looks like a very interesting and convincing one to try for knight f4. If you take on e2, then now I've got rook g7 as a discovery, and I think this is completely dead. So knight e2 looks like a very logical move indeed, and we'll see what he does. Certainly there should be many good moves after this. Let's look at Jimmy Liu, and there have been huge developments in the Jimmy game, and I'm not sure whether I'm really convinced by what Jimmy has done. Knight f6, so knight e5 was played, b6 was played, interestingly enough. Knight e5, bishop b7. This feels a bit dubious to do this move order. I was thinking to give a check like this. Seems very principled. If I could force him to go king f8, that would make my day. I would just castle, and then your king would be stuck. So what can you do? You'd have to block, right? But how are you gonna block? You're not gonna block this way, and that's clear. That's gonna not gonna do anything to me. So you're gonna play knight d7, right? And maybe this is what he wasn't so sure about. Bishop e7, king takes e7. Sorry, bishop e7, queen takes e7. Maybe he wasn't so sure about this here, because maybe if this is going to castle queenside as well. Okay, this doesn't look so clear. It's okay, I can understand why he didn't do this. Still not 100% sure. I mean, white has different tries here. Could maybe... I'm not sure whether something like this makes any sense. Maybe not because of a6, so yeah. Maybe black is fine here after all, knight d7. So queen b5 check is nothing. So white castles, and now black gets to castle and is doing fine. Queen h3, interesting. So he's preparing bishop d3. Typical Jimmy, he loves to attack. h6 and queen g4. I guess he doesn't want to allow knight f4. That's the reason why he did that. Yeah, it's a pity to have to block your g-pawn, given that you probably want to push it, right? But maybe he had no choice but to do this. Rook e1. It still feels like Jimmy's position was quite comfortable though, so I don't know how did it become such a mess. Knight b6, f4. Knight gets to a4, right. So this knight on a4 looks actually pretty strong. f5, and wow, knight takes b2. Yes, because of course you cannot take because of bishop f3 check winning a queen. So Jimmy goes for fe6. It's a race now. It's a proper race. Bishop c8. Probably quite a strong move actually. Queen f7, queen h4, and black just plays bishop f5. I don't know. I feel like black's attack is in full swing here. Queen a2 might be coming up at any moment now. He could play bishop d3 to try to further open the white king. I don't know. It feels very, very dangerous for white, no? Very dangerous. What can white possibly do? Rook e7 feels a bit too slow. I feel like you're basically provoking black to play the move he wants to play, which is queen a2. And I don't know what white is supposed to do in this case. Yeah. I mean, the big threat is even just to do this, take and play bishop d3. And I'm not sure we have anything to do against that. Yeah, I think we are in big trouble here. We just lost. There's nothing to do. So I don't know how you stop any of this. Well, I've just cheated and checked the engine. Apparently the best move is knight b2. But it doesn't seem convincing to me. I guess the point is that you'll need to have this queen c4 check. That's gonna be the saving move, I guess. So yeah, I guess we'll see what black does against this. It actually looks pretty good now I'm looking at it. Queen c4 check seems to be coming. Okay, so the rook on d8 is hanging, so we probably have to take on d1. And white takes with the rook, certainly. What can black do now? If he goes queen a2, this is the point. Seems really strong, but there is queen c4 check. And with the exchange of queens, white's out of danger. So black might have to move his king. So now queen a2 is coming, right? And maybe white still goes queen c4. So if he exchanges, obviously it's nice, as we've already determined. And maybe black can try to give a check on g5, but I'm not sure. Okay, but this looks actually pretty strong. That knight is hit, and yeah, okay, it looks quite bad actually. How does this work? I'm trying to figure out how can this work, because it looks so bad everywhere. So maybe queen c4 is not the move, but then how to deal with queen a2? Maybe something like queen f4 to hit the rook. That would make sense, but then you have to worry about a move like this, right? Yeah, when I don't know, you might have to go queen e5 now because I guess this would be completely dead for white. It should probably be dead for white. Yeah, queen c3 check. Somehow it should be dead. I don't see how he dies, but you know, it should be dead somehow. I don't know. Maybe I messed it up a little bit. Should I give a check on d4 instead? Maybe that's the way, yeah? King e2 and then give a check here, and that crushes. So maybe that was a strong way to do it. And if king c1, then what? Maybe just this. Queen e3 check, rook d2, check, and there should be a mate. Surely there must be a mate. Check, check, and it's over. Because king f2, queen e1 check, and it's finished. Or king f3, probably check here. King g4, and where's the mate? h5, king g5. Still not over. Still not over this one. I can give a check here, probably. King h5. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure. No, maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself with this. There was probably an easier way to do it. Yeah, I guess there must be an easier way to do it than this. Give a check on h1, maybe? Then king g4, still. Ugh. This is a bit frustrating. It's a bit frustrating. No, this is very strange. Maybe we just give a check here and just say that this is winning, which is probably true. So maybe that's a cop out, a bit of a cop out, I guess. But yeah, okay. It's no surprise he doesn't find knight b2, but he got very close to it. He found knight e5 with the same idea of queen c4. It looks strong. It looks very strong, but I did accidentally see that the engine doesn't like it. So let's try to see if we can figure it out with that knowledge. Is there rook b1 check? Rook b1 check. King takes b1, queen b3 check. King a1, queen takes a3 and mate. No, this is the way. Queen b3 check. King a1, queen takes a3 check. And rook b8. And it's over. No, that's the reason why. That's why knight b2 had to be played. So there's also no rook b1 check. What a way to finish off the game. By the way, is that the only way, rook b1? Apparently it's not, but the other way to finish off was also this way. So you had to see this rook b1 check idea. If not, white is fine with queen c4. But I mean, it's a Filipino. You know, these Filipinos, they live and breathe tactics. So I think that he's gonna see it. Yeah, yeah. But there is a chance because he's a senior that he misses it. But oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This is not something you want to see if you're white. Yeah, we'll see if this happens in the game. Yeah. But anyway, we'll take a 10-minute break. Just a quick break this time, and we'll be back, yeah, very soon. So yeah, stay tuned. All right, we are back. Yeah, last session for a call it a day. Yeah, but we're gonna have a look at what's still on. All right, so we left Tran Levy here, the Vietnamese bottom chess, bishop b4, b4, and yeah, a5 was played. Very interesting. V takes a5 and knight d5, which is apparently wrong. Apparently knight e4 is better. And after queen e1 is queen a3, I guess. Oh no, queen a3 is no good because of knight c4. Okay, so it's not that. Just play knight d6. Wow. And he just says it's fine. You just play queen c7 and just chill. Just chill like that. Knight c8, v2, and yeah, just play, no? Just chill and repeat. Wow, okay. So va5 was played. Knight d5 was wrong, apparently. And now, just hit the v pawn. That's the game that White's playing. Hit the v pawn. Maybe you can't hit the v pawn because then you lose the a pawn. But maybe you just play knight c4 and then you're ready to continue with hit the v pawn, right? It's a nice game for White to play, and not a very nice game for Black to deal with. So we'll see. Okay, what else is there on the board? There is it's not very much here. Oh, there's been a lot of developments here. So we left it somewhere here. So just to recap what happened in this game, we're saying that bishop e7 was much better because white now has the option of d takes e6 in case black takes on e5 in a lot of these lines. Yeah, for instance, if you do this, then I think these type of lines are actually working out pretty well for white, because white ends up opening a lot of fouls, yeah, in front of black's king. And yeah, white is just in general doing very well. So this would have been very good. Oh, this is hanging, yeah. So white will get something like ef7 with a huge advantage, or even knight d5 first. It's crushing. It's totally crushing. But d6 was not that great because the e5 pawn is going to hang. And yeah, the thing is that after bishop f8, the d6 pawn is going to be hard to protect. I'm not sure about king f8. Was it better to play bishop takes f8 instead? Just try to take it. Oh, sorry. Rook e1 is hitting that knight. So you had to play king f8. My apologies. King f8, b3, and now knight d3. So hitting that knight on c3. It's reasonable. But that runs into rook e3. Okay, first things first. Why not taking this guy? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? Don't know. Queen g3 maybe. Maybe queen g3, yeah? Something starts to feel a little bit loose here, I reckon. So that's why she didn't take here. Play knight d3, rook e3, and after bishop c3, it's not so easy to take that pawn back, actually. I think white is starting to consolidate this, so maybe somewhere here something went wrong. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think something must have gone wrong here. But, okay, that's life. Maybe there were better moves. Maybe you could even consider something like this. So at least, if you're going to trade these things, you get a pawn for it. So that would have probably been a better version. But after this, I don't know. That pawn is going to be hard to take. And in the meantime, okay, maybe it's not that hard to take after all. But yeah, maybe it's not that hard to take after all. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. He can, after all, take on d6 now. And I don't know, it should be okay, because there is queen c6 that looks a bit annoying. But okay, now black has some ideas like this. So I don't think it should be something that's too dangerous for him. Okay, let's move on to another game. Let's see what's going on with Arca. Last we left it, we loved Arca's position. And now, where did we leave it? We left it after knight h6, and we said that knight f5 was very standard. He played h6. Interesting. Someone to allow knight g5. h4 and castles. Yeah, I think we left it somewhere here, right? Where he played bishop c6. And now white plays bishop f4, very standard move. King h8 and h5. Okay, so white is trying to get something on the king side. He's got to try to get some place somewhere, right? So, king side is as good as the place as any. So a5. He takes a5. I'm not sure about a5 actually. Is this a good idea? But, okay. It was played ba5, rook a8, and bishop d2. Okay, so what's black's plan after this? Well, there are a lot of moves that black can consider. Knight d4 is one of them. I guess bishop e4 is of course the obvious one, but I'm not sure about this because he will lose that b7 pawn, and I'm not sure about this actually, because there will be g4, right? Like if you do this, there will be g4, and this bishop, might not feel so great all of a sudden. I mean, black's not going to lose this. He can play knight d4 and go for a position like, oh, maybe this is actually good, yeah. Okay, I have to play king f1. Yeah, no, but I'm not sure actually, because if queen a6, now he can move the king or even block with rook e2. Yeah, he can play king g2. It's not a big deal, right? So, yeah, not sure about this. Okay, so, yeah, not sure about rook takes e, bishop takes e4, actually. What else is there? There is knight d4, which probably will lead to quite a nice position. I don't see what white can do aside from taking on d4. And then black can take on d4, I guess, with either one of them. Queen d4 looks like a very sensible option, renewing the threat of... I don't know, actually, rook d4 might be better, because now you have more threats here. Although bishop c3, yeah, still not so clear. It's really not so clear. Yeah, because ideas like this don't really work out because it's f3. So, I don't know. It's not clear. If queen d4, this also makes sense, right? So let's look at that. Rook d2 is a threat. So now at least bishop c3 is not possible anymore. Can't really bring the bishop that way. But, okay, what can white do against this? It's not so clear. It's not so clear, actually. Either way, it looks... I mean, I think black should be a bit better here. Maybe more than a bit. Maybe this is the way, just to play knight d4 and and see what the engine says. He likes bishop takes e4 actually, and he plays rook f3. Interesting stuff. And apparently it's better to have the queen on d2. Oh, so okay, this is the position we saw just now, right? We weren't sure about this because of some g4, but he's not afraid of it. He says just rook a5. And if g4, let me just try to figure out what's going on after g4. If g4, it probably will be some knight jump. So let's say knight d4. Queen takes e7. Knight f3 check, king f1. I don't know, it doesn't look clear to me. Knight e1, rook e1, yeah? It does not look clear to me, this one. So what could the move be? g4 obviously is the move. Oh, could it be this? Wow. That's why you want the queen on d2, right? That's the reason why. And it crushes, right? Bishop c5, that's the way. Simple and strong. Simply bishop g5 and black wins. So actually, it turns out bishop e4 is very, very good in that case. If g4 doesn't work, then then he's forced to suffer in this, but it's probably a lost endgame, no? After rook takes a5, it's probably a lost position here. You'll get this pawn on a3, and it will take some time to win, but I think the pieces are just very strong. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be very good for white. Do you want to join me?
Sure,
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll join the. Is this live stream right now?
Yes, it is. It is
Oh,
very much live. You are
it's
live
on-
on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, it's on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself? Yeah.
My name is Kaden. I am from Laos. Yeah.
From Laos.
Yes.
Nice. Very nice. How are you doing so far in this tournament?
Not the best, but at least I have 1.5 point right now. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
My friends are
Did you-
laughing.
how did you do today?
Oh, today
Yeah.
I managed to draw once, and I
Uh-huh.
lost today at the afternoon.
Yeah. It's a tough tournament. I feel there's no easy
Yes, it was tough.
pairings. Yeah.
I played in the ASEAN age group last year. I scored 1 out of 9. Not the best, but
It's an improvement.
I did improve. Yeah, I would.
It's already an improvement.
Yeah.
You've already got half a point more than last year.
Yes.
With 2 more rounds to go.
Yeah, with 2 more
So
rounds.
that's like bonus 2 rounds for you to score
Yeah.
even more, no? I
Yeah.
think it's always like that. You just try to make small improvements in
Yeah.
chess, right? Because it's never like it can't be like you go to a tournament and just like, oh,
Yeah.
first time I play, I'm gonna win.
Yeah, you can't expect to win all the time. So when you lose, I keep making mistakes, but I learn how to like improve it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Okay, do you want to have a look at some of these games?
Sure, I don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So we have this game between with Aka, yeah, we were just looking at
Oh, Arca from
from the Philippines.
yeah, under 18, right?
Yeah, I believe he's now an IM actually. It's got all his norms, and it's just
He
a matter of applying,
yeah,
no?
he's a future GM. That's what I heard. Yeah.
I mean, they say that about a lot of people, but
Yeah.
to be honest, I will say he's a future GM.
Future
You know, when he's got the 3 norms and he's like
Ah.
10 points away from his
10 point-
title,
uh-huh.
because there are so many people who have been future GMs.
Yeah,
and
that's
are not actually GMs. So, you know,
Yeah.
we will see.
We will see. Yeah.
I will say though, he has potential. He has a lot of potential if he
He
keeps, you know.
He's also very young as well.
Yes, of course. I mean, not super young,
Not
but if
super-
if he keeps up with his current state of progress, I think he can definitely be a GM.
Mhm.
Yeah, the question is when and will he get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. No, but we were looking at this line, right? Played
Yeah.
bishop d2, and he's thinking, yeah, because I'm sure his idea was to take on e4, right?
Yeah,
Something
take on
like this,
e4.
and take this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
it-
I was trying to figure out like position like this, right?
Mhm.
But it turns out, right, this is very strong because
I feel
this-
like black is much better in this position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if there are no tactics, obviously black just wins, yeah, because there are a
yeah.
lot of issues here.
Uh-huh.
And the tactics don't work for white. Oh, bishop e4 has been played, by the way, so we're going down this line.
Yeah.
And if g4, there will be bishop c5. That's
That's
a
very
nice
powerful,
point,
yeah.
very powerful, because I think this is just mate, yeah. Queen
Almost.
h2.
Yeah.
Actually, where is the
That-
mate?
Wait.
I didn't even bother to figure it out. I thought it would be a mate. But I guess it's a check here.
Yeah.
King g2 and give a check here,
Mhm.
I think this is the way.
It's just
King h2 though, where's the mate? Maybe we have to involve the rook, but I'm not sure how.
very. It involves the bishop.
You can take this
Bishop.
bishop. You can take this guy first, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's-
just chill and let's
yeah.
just eat more stuff first,
Yeah.
and we can check here,
Mhm.
and then we can decide what to do.
Yeah.
I would love to involve the bishop, sure, certainly, but how?
I thought a bishop
That
bishop
makes sense.
F2,
That
but-
makes sense.
maybe rook
Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
probably
rook
wins.
d1.
Yeah, because okay, something like this, you can
Yeah,
give a
just
check
to give
here,
it up. Yeah.
and then even just it's got double check. But I
Yeah.
think this works. Yeah, because none of
Yeah.
the checks make any difference, and now we're getting our own checks,
Yeah,
right?
and then
Yeah, it's like
black is
just
just
fight check
dominating.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over. It's made.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
At
black.
least convert it to a winning endgame. At least. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
That's
so
good enough.
yeah, what will not play g4, but
Mhm.
okay, but if you play something like Queen f3, I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be really bad, right?
Mhm.
Like you can even play a move like Rook a4,
Oh,
and
rook a4.
just stopping this a pawn
Yeah.
from moving, and eventually you're gonna win this pawn, right? So
Yeah,
that's the
because
big
it's too
problem.
weak. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not moving. It's
Yeah.
even keeping the white pieces passive.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a disaster for white.
Yeah.
Okay, what else is there? We have Dang Anmin, who's already beat Bakoyo. Yeah, we
Oh,
left
this
it
game
here.
already ended. Wow.
Yeah, it ended here. No, we really liked what Black was doing because it seemed like Black is doing something normal.
Yeah.
But then Black starts to take over, yeah, because he
Mhm.
castles queenside, which is smart, I think.
Yeah.
And then he plays king b8, this is a normal move. Plays queen c5, looking at e5 ideas, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, I just realized we have not got the board, so...
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
No, I just realized people must be thinking what these crazy guys talking about. But we have got the board now.
Yeah, we got.
So, no worries. Queen c5 has been played. Knight c2 and bishop c6.
Bishop c6.
Threatening this pawn. It's very, very powerful player.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for those who... I mean, obviously you didn't see, but
Mhm.
earlier on we had a position like this, and we were saying we liked what Black was doing. A castle king queen side.
That's smart though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's smart, because obviously White is hitting on the king side. You
Yeah.
don't want to go there, right?
Of course.
Yeah, so castle's queen side, yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, knight bishop c6.
Yeah.
So powerful, no?
Yeah,
It's
that's
that-
powerful.
E5.
Attacking, scoping.
Yeah. Now,
This
that's
is
king
tough
queen
move.
side. Yeah. It's tough move to meet, no? Because, yeah, obviously you can't play f5 because you lose, yeah, everything
Of
here.
course.
And it's
Right.
over.
It's over.
So you have to play probably queen c3. I thought you had to play queen c3, but apparently you don't have to, yeah?
Mhm.
Maybe you can. Maybe you have to do something like this and then take, but it's
I
so
thought,
bad.
I thought of trading the queens first, maybe.
Yeah, maybe something like this
Yeah.
and then doing this.
Just to like relieve pressure.
It feels awful, no?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
the thing.
what to do is it's what you have to do, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Blockading this
Yeah.
rook. Yeah.
Yeah, probably because this was really bad. And it seems like Black is complicating. Sorry, White is complicating,
Yeah.
and then he runs straight into this,
Yeah.
which is a disastrous move.
Very difficult.
Because actually, I was trying to figure out like what happens if Black takes, but it's not so clear, yeah. Because okay, we can get this bishop on g5, but
Of
Black
course.
pieces are a bit awkward, right? You can get
Yeah.
his pawn back. So actually, what he did was very strong, Queen e5.
Queen e5. I like that move. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all like that move. Such a centralizing,
Yeah.
nice centralizing move. No?
Yeah.
And the point is that after Queen f7, he has this intermediate set of moves,
Yeah.
Rook d f8. If he does this, then he's going to run into this again, yeah?
Yes. And
So
the
even
queen-
more intermediate moves, and
And the
perfect.
queen might be trapped. Yeah.
maybe, yeah, maybe even. And it's perfect combination, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry,
it is.
perfect coordination
Mhm.
between the black pieces. So Queen h5 was played, but that just is horrible because you
Yeah.
run into a whole bunch of tempi,
Yeah.
and you don't even have a pawn to show for your
Yeah,
misery.
that's true.
Oh,
Exchange.
Black is the one that has, as they say, I believe they say, Black has the material and the compensation,
Ah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what they say in these situations.
Yeah.
And boom, finish. Too easy. Beginner tactics.
Yeah.
Ouch. Ouch. That's not the way you want to lose.
Yeah.
But
That's
it's
hateful.
yeah, Bakoya has had a really tough last 4 rounds. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
he's beaten 1900 and then lost like the other 3. So
That's sad, but yeah.
yeah, it's sad, but it's life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
he
life.
actually beat Arca, and after he beat
Oh,
Arca,
really?
I think I don't know, things started to unravel a little bit.
That's
We had
pretty
we had a Malaysian player here that already messed up. Yeah, we already saw this one,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and it was really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an interesting one, but I don't know what's going on. Black's up 2 pawns, right?
Really? Black's up 2 pawns?
Yeah, but everything seems to be hanging. Knight b6, rook d5. No, we left it somewhere here, right? Where I was like, I didn't see where White's compensation was.
I
For
don't
this.
understand that move. Oh, it's just to go there?
Yeah, but it was apparently quite deep. He plays g4 and knight d4
Yeah.
like this. And it's just like long-term positional compensation, saying
Yeah.
that Black's pieces are discoordinated. His queen is
might
just...
feel trapped soon.
Yes,
Yeah.
it could be trapped,
Could
yeah,
be
this
trapped,
queen.
yeah.
It very much could be trapped.
And then he's sad.
I think he actually might be threatening to trap the queen, right?
Yeah.
Like, the threat is to do this, and
Yeah,
after
but-
that, like, knight f5 or bishop somewhere, bishop g3, right?
Yeah.
So,
Maybe, yeah.
yeah, it looks really bad. So he takes, right? And this is obviously really bad.
Yeah.
And his plan was to. I think he's trying to take on. He was trying to take on d4 and take this guy.
Yeah, probably.
And White did something very interesting. He played Queen C3.
He pinning himself? I
He's
don't
pinning
understand.
himself, but he wants to exchange the queen.
Yeah, he wants to exchange as well.
Yeah, so Queen H4, and now
Uh-huh.
Knight F5. Wow.
Wow.
Okay, Bishop H3, Knight
That
H4,
takes, yeah.
Bishop F6, and it seems like Black has got his piece back because
Yeah.
he's hitting both, right?
Yeah.
Firstly, I'm wondering why he doesn't do this,
I would have played G5.
but I think it's because of this that he
Maybe.
missed it. He doesn't like this. Everything is hanging, right?
Yeah.
So Black thought everything was working for him, but
Yeah.
there is this Bishop B5 move, and
Yeah.
it seems that everything is hanging, right? Knight takes V6.
That takes.
Oh, it's a total disaster because if you move the rook, I take C8, right?
Yeah, you just take, and then you take the knight. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Yeah, you just win the
total
game.
catastrophe right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So knight takes V6. What
Yeah.
else is there?
Bishop
takes
take
C8.
rook, yeah.
And it's a
Disaster.
total disaster.
Yeah.
indeed. Rook B1,
Hmm.
knight C8.
Yeah.
Just
This is very scary for black, yeah.
I think
but-
it's just dead lost, no?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do if I just start pushing?
Yeah.
Do?
That's just simply
I was thinking
You're
even
just
rook
simplifying,
B8,
yeah.
but there's no real.
rook B.
I mean, you could even do that, yeah. Trying for bishop C6.
could
B7.
work, yeah, it could work.
But what do you do against just simple A4?
I think I would just promote. Yeah.
I think it probably just goes through. It's like +5
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's winning. It's winning.
+4, yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it's close enough.
Yeah, close enough at least.
Anyway, I don't think Black is too happy with that
Yeah.
extra difference between
Mhm.
+5 and +4.
I
Yeah.
would agree, yeah.
Certainly not. Okay. So
The
okay.
next game.
Next, go into some other games. Let's look at the old guys. Is there any progress in this?
Mhm.
There was some big progress in the Efren game.
Oh, really?
No, we didn't understand what Efren was doing because he had his knight on E4, right? He put his knight on E4. And they always do this to play F5, right?
Yeah, F5.
So White played knight E5. Interesting. And then Black didn't play F5.
That's weird.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's really strange.
Normally, I see F5.
Yeah, the whole
But-
reason you do this is to play F5,
Yeah,
right?
F5, yeah.
Yeah, but then knight goes back and
Yeah.
then he runs into some E4.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's maybe regretting not playing F5,
Yeah,
yeah?
Probably,
But
yeah.
it's what it is. So White plays H4, very
Mhm.
standard play. Knight F1,
Yeah, knight F1.
Bishop F8, Bishop E3.
Bishop E2. I don't see a reason to that move.
I also don't see it, but I guess he
Yeah.
wants to play F4 at some
Yeah,
point.
maybe F4.
Okay, he does it. He plays E5. I don't know what knight F6 was. It feels very strange. And now F4 comes,
Yeah.
and F5.
F5 that late is not the best, I would say.
I get the feeling. I mean, you say it's not the best. I get
Yeah,
that feeling
it's
for
not
every
the best.
single one of
Oh,
Black's moves here.
Yeah.
But I think it's also such a tiring event, right? So
Yeah,
many
it is
double rounds.
tiring.
I'm sure you're kind of tired now,
Mhm.
even though it's the day after the rest.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
So yeah, because of all the double rounds, you play so many rounds a day, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll say for someone of Efren's age, if I was Efren's age, I would refuse to play this tournament
Yeah.
because it's too tiring.
It's
I will
too
play
tiring,
only
but
single rounds,
it is
yeah.
once in a lifetime, in my opinion.
I don't know. He's been Asian seniors champion twice already.
You've
He
been?
doesn't need a third time.
Third time.
Why does he need another third time?
Uh,
Yeah, why does he need that?
yeah.
My opinion, it's not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's having some blitz battles behind me, so
Yeah.
that's why the
Those are my
clock bang.
friends right there.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's pretty
let's-
much it. Yeah, I guess this looks really
What about
Nice
for under 16, my group? Yeah.
the open. Yeah.
Yeah, under
sure.
16.
I see a lot of quick draws actually. There is only one game left. It's this one.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure.
Wow.
It's not stuck, is it? No.
I don't
I don't
think
think
so.
it is. No, it's not stuck.
Mhm.
So C4 F5.
English, yeah.
Yeah, typical Hollandaise opening.
Yeah.
Opening Hollandaise.
Mhm.
D5, Bishop D2.
Yeah.
Bishop D2.
Probably because,
By the way, I don't know what this setup is for. Yeah.
yeah.
B3.
Normally, I think you would go bishop b2 more likely.
Yeah, and then
But
queen
bishop-
a5. He blitzes this, so this is clearly prep. Yeah, queen
Yeah,
a5.
this is prep.
Queen c2.
Queen c2.
Yeah, this two is weird.
Yeah.
Then I guess Bishop B2 will hit E5 anyways. So.
Yeah.
he wanted to be ready for e4.
I guess that's the reason. Yeah.
Bishop d2, queen c7,
Mm-hmm.
and then he doesn't go for e4, which I find strange. Like the whole point was to go for e4,
Yeah,
right?
e4, of course. That's the English. Yeah.
I feel like in chess, right, you gotta be consistent, right? Like
Yeah,
if
you
you've
have to.
already done this, play e4.
Yeah.
You gotta go for it. For better or for worse,
You gotta take the
go for it,
risk.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta be consistent because as Vinnick once said, bad plan is better than no plan at all.
That's true.
And right now it's looking like white has no plan at all. Knight a4, what kind of plan is this? You cannot convince me that white has a plan here.
Yeah.
You cannot convince me that white has a plan.
I
with
think
what
he's just
doing.
maneuvering around. Yeah.
It's you're being nice. You're
Yeah.
being nice. I would say flailing around aimlessly is
Aimlessly.
what he's doing. But okay, at least he gets f3.
Yeah.
That's the one thing
Yeah.
that I will give white. He
It's
managed
the
to get
breakthrough.
f3. So it's already not bad. He
Yeah.
manages to get this. Maybe e4 is a bit premature. Shouldn't have played e4.
Yeah, striking the center probably
Yeah,
would
but-
work.
I don't know, but what do? You can't really play bishop e6 or try to develop that bishop somehow, yeah?
Yeah.
So maybe you had to go e4.
E4.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe I've been a bit harsh on white. I think this is a thing though, you know, white's doing nothing, but
Yeah.
black can't really do that much either, so
Yeah.
that's what it is.
That is.
It's a position where I'm starting to sort of like white again, as
Mm.
funny as that sounds, because knight will go to e5, right?
Yeah.
Still rook e8 though, it's not so clear.
Yeah.
That's why he's thinking.
Oh.
He's thinking about that, what to do.
Yeah.
What can be the other options besides knight e5?
Wait, this
Rook
game
d1
is still-
something?
It's still on, right?
Yeah, this game is
Oh,
on.
Yeah, still on. Okay.
Oh, I was gonna suggest rook d1, and I realized this could be a bit nasty.
Yeah.
This could be very nasty, actually.
Hmm.
That's what lose a piece, I think.
Yes.
So you couldn't do this. You can't do this.
Maybe
So-
rook e1 was better. Yeah.
Sorry? You mean knight e1? I don't know. I think rook e1 is fine.
Yeah, rook e1.
So knight e5 is not.
Mhm.
Isn't it, nothing has been played yet.
Yeah.
Knight e5 is. Let's say rook e8. Maybe we can just move the queen. It's not a.
Or
big
move
deal.
the king maybe.
King
oh, wait,
f1
king-
or something. Interesting.
King maybe. Oh wait, never mind. I thought there was check, but then there's a knight right there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. You can try this actually. Knight f7 may now be in the cards.
Yeah.
Let's see. This looks like an interesting
Mhm.
position, yeah. So
Yeah,
let's
it
see
is.
how this turns out for
Mhm.
white. Okay. Well, we had a Malaysian here who
Wow.
unfortunately
Lost.
lost. This is another Dutch
Mhm.
and c4, v3, okay?
Yes.
v3 is weird. Normally v3 is met instantly with e5, right?
Yeah.
You just expose this diagonal, so
Yeah.
black should be like blitzing e5.
I think the purpose of b3 was to maybe like create a formation of pawns, like so his pawn structure doesn't be destroyed. Probably that's why he played b3. Yeah, maybe.
I think a lot of times it's like what you were talking earlier, right? Like he wants to put his bishop on b2 and stop
Yeah.
e5. So before bishop d2, I think why not e5?
Yeah.
But okay, what he's done is also
Mhm.
not too bad.
Not
But
too bad.
I don't know. Actually, maybe I take that back. It was not that great because now white gets e4. This is
Yeah.
what white wants, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Of
take
course,
that all
yeah.
back. He should have played e5. No.
Of course.
Now it's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
f4 and friendly knight g5 is even stronger. Wow.
Oh, knight
And if
g5.
ed4, we take this way, I think, or something.
I think it's
Actually, what
knight
do we
take.
do? Because does he have c5 that we have to worry about?
C- Probably.
Either now or after knight takes c4. Maybe knight takes c4, rook takes c4 would be a thing. So maybe
Yeah.
c5. Oh no, that's knight f6 check. And what am I talking
Ah.
about? There's always knight f6 check. So it's a
Ah.
disaster. This means I definitely get this guy back. And this guy is a weakness.
Of course.
Lovely. The dream. Bro.
Mm.
The dream. So that g5 was very strong. But the e5 is so natural, it's hard to blame him. And apparently he had to do knight takes e5. And yeah, it looks really scary, this. But apparently there's not too much
Yeah,
here.
not too much.
Okay, it's a nice
This is
position for white.
Yeah, simplifying now.
Yeah, it's a nice endgame for white.
Of
yeah,
course,
but
yeah.
Still,
It is.
still, it was better than
Yeah.
what he did. Yeah.
But
Okay.
concern, how did black loses this?
Yeah, I mean, I think he probably just. I think white's position is so nice
Yeah,
now, no?
too nice. Yeah.
ED6. And I think this is the worst thing, yeah. But playing a lower rated player,
Yeah,
you're
low.
thinking, oh, you know, I have more flexibility.
Yeah.
And then he starts to play perfect chess, like really, really good chess.
Yeah.
And then it's hard.
Yeah. You
Like
can
I-
never doubt a low-rated player. Yeah.
The low rated players, in my opinion, are the scariest ones because
Yeah.
you just never know when you're playing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
King h8 and just free pawn for nothing.
Yeah.
perfect chess pretty much.
Yeah.
And now it's completely winning, yeah? I mean,
Yeah.
two bishops, you know, two bishops
Up
and
a pawn as well, yeah.
extra pawn,
Yeah.
c5. What a nice move.
I love
Fixing
that.
pawn on c6. What a nice move. Fixing weakness. Knight
Mhm.
d4, bishop a7,
Nice.
and he finishes even finishes off with some tactics. Bishop
Wow.
c5. Not even
You
any
cannot even
chance for
stop
bishop
that pawn,
b8.
yeah.
Yeah, he was hoping for even something like this where he gives up his
Yeah.
bishop for it, but no chance. Bishop c5.
Yeah.
What a game. Okay, sometimes you just gotta take your hat off to your opponent
Yeah.
for playing a great game, yeah?
That's true. That's true.
And I hope that you will play a great game
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you very
Thanks
much.
for joining us.
Yeah, thank
and,
you.
Yeah, best of luck for tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. And on that positive note, we're going to end the stream now. Thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you at 9:15 a.m. tomorrow. Cheers and bye bye.